Murph, I guess the main question, how's coach feeling? And was there anything that you and the rest of the team and the rest of the basketball group had to do in order to, or has to do in order to step forward from this?
No, I mean, we've been through this before. Was it last year with coach? Had to miss a game. So, he's done a really good job with the staff, identifying roles and stressing do your job. And I think that's worked very well with our staff. Our staff is very cohesive. Everyone works well together. It's a hand in glove type situation. So listen, it's tough when the boss isn't there because he's the boss for a reason. I learned this a long time ago. And this is funny. When I used to work for Coach Sanderson in Alabama, he said, you slide over 18 inches. And he goes, your rear end feels different. And so not having the boss there is a challenge, but he's done a really good job of implementing a program, a staff, and a process that will see us through the weekend.
Mike, I don't want to put words in Dan's mouth, but I think he might have been talking about what do you have to do moving forward in order to make sure you can play this week because of the fact that Coach Marlin has tested positive and you've got 15 or 13 or whatever basketball players. What happens between now and Thursday to ensure that you're cleared to play?
Well, you get tested tomorrow. Everyone's cleared, you play. If you don't play. We have testing tomorrow, so we'll find out, I guess, then. We don't practice today.
Murph, who has the scout for Texas State, and who will step into the lead role, and will it be the same guy for both games?
Yes, Neil Harden has a scout. He had the scout last time. And this is actually one of the benefits of playing somebody multiple times. I don't know that there are a lot of benefits, but in this situation, this can be beneficial because Neil did the first scout. We've already played them twice. We'll play them again, twice this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So that won't be a huge issue. But Neil has the scout. And then once again, everybody has certain responsibilities, whether it be offensive, defensive, in practice, et cetera, et cetera. Those responsibilities will still be met, and coach will be in contact with us, letting us know, what he wants us to do and what he thinks we need to do, et cetera, et cetera. But, the process is in place, and we're all fairly experienced guys. We've been around a little bit, so we'll be able to make this work. Now, once again, having said that, when the boss isn't there, it's a challenge, and everyone's going to have to step up their game, us, the players, everybody, to make sure that challenge is met as best it can be.
Before we talk basketball a little more, how's he feeling?
I spoke to him this morning. He feels well. He's got mild symptoms, but that's today. This thing could change hour by hour, but right now he feels good, as well as can be. He's really ticked off. He can't be with the team, especially in practice leading up to this weekend. But other than that, I think he's got very mild symptoms.
I don't know if you can speak for others, but have you had it? Have you tested positive earlier in the season?
I have, yes. That's why I missed the McNeese State game.
What was the experience like for you?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 2. I didn't have much of anything. The interesting thing with me is the bottom of my feet got very dry and cracked, and for about 5 days when I would get up, it would feel like I was walking on glass. And I lost my sense of taste and smell, but that was about it.
How can you guys carry that momentum forward from this past weekend to try to get another weekend sweep, especially on the road against the team that you kind of felt like you had unfinished business with, to start the new year?
Yeah, well, anytime you shoot the ball well, that helps with your momentum. And that's what we were able to do this weekend on Saturday night. Not so much on Friday, but on Saturday night. Even though we won both games, we were something like 3 for 19 on Friday night, and one player made a 3 who actually made a couple threes. That was Cedric Russell. The rest of the team was 0 for 16. Now on Saturday, we were 11 from 18 from the three-point line, and Jacoby Gordon, who was playing at the 4 spot, was 4 for 4. And anytime you bring in a 4 who can shoot the 3, that stretches the floor, and that really stresses the defense. It's the best way to create spacing and to unlock the basket, i.e. Theo Akuba. It prevents double teams when that 4 player has to honor a 3-point shot. And that's what we got on Saturday out of Jacoby. He was 4 for 4. Along with that, Ty Harper was 2 for 2. Devin Butts was 1 for 1. Now, what does that say? They were 7 for 7. But they took good shots. On Friday, I think we got a little impatient. We We were taking too many threes off of one pass early in possessions, which then stresses your defense, because Arkansas State was really good in transition, bringing the ball down the court. They were coming 100 miles an hour, and you had to get back early to stop that transition. And when you shoot the ball early, especially from the three-point line, long shots translate into long rebounds, which makes it easier for a run out. It stresses your defense. But the whole thing with keeping your momentum, as you say, going into this weekend is you've got to shoot the ball effectively and efficiently from several different spots on the floor in order to compete. It's no real secret. I mean, with the college game the way it is now, even the pro game, that three-point shot changes things dramatically.
What's the division of labor like?
Were you getting better shots on Saturday because you did such a good job? Akuba was dominant inside on Friday, and Arkansas State was having to, provide a little more help inside?
Of course, that was it. I mean, it's we're not trying to launch the shuttle or reinvent anything here. If you throw the ball inside, your post player gets 25 points, it's going to force an adjustment. And, they tried to – well, on Friday, they weren't honoring Duguay's shot. And Duke can shoot the ball now. He gets a little impatient at times, but in junior college, he was a very effective three-point shooter. At times, he's been a good three-point shooter from us. But at times, he gets a little antsy and will take a quick shot. But, they really weren't guarding Duke on the perimeter. And several teams have done this now. And when Jacoby came in on the second night now on Saturday, going to your question, Dan, yeah, they didn't guard him at first, and he made a couple threes. And then when they did come out to get him, it just opened up the basket more. It prevents that double team in the post because at Theo's height, you've got no choice but to double him with another post player. You really can't do it with a 5'10", 5'11" guard. It's not going to have much effect. So shooting from the perimeter, especially from the 4 spot, stretches the floor. That's why you hear that term all the time. We need a stretch 4, especially in the NBA, because it does create automatic spacing on the perimeter.
What's the division of labor like amongst the coaching staff for practice and then obviously going into the game, without Coach Marlin?
Say that again, please.
What's the division of labor like? How do you guys break things up about who does what in practice and obviously going forward into the game without Coach Marlin?
Well, we all do a little bit of everything, but Neil's got the scout, so he'll be the lead in practice as far as what we're going to do. Also, that's going to be in consultation with Coach. But Neil's got the scout. Brock Morris focuses a lot on the defensive end. Neil takes the offense. Justin Crow will float in between both. I know that in practice, Neil and Brock do the guards in terms of breakdown shooting. Justin has the post players. So we'll work together as a team to make sure we put our players in the best position possible to compete on Friday and Saturday.
So what's the earliest he could come back?
I'm not entirely sure. You'd have to check with our medical people. I would assume it's sometime next week. But the protocols that's outside of my wheelhouse.
Have you guys had any players test positive this week? This season, Murph?
Yeah, that's once again. I don't think I can comment on that. I can comment on me personally, but I can't count on it. I don't feel comfortable commenting on any other players. Now, I think that's a question for the medical staff that they may be able to answer.
Coach, once the game starts, is it substituting that's the most complicated thing without everyone, missing the head coach? Is substituting the most complicated thing during a game?
Well, I think substituting is extremely important because you're trying to find guys rest, especially in the first half where they can finish the second half strong. But, there's a little bit of a science to it, but you've got to be careful when you do it, why you do it, who you do it with, time and score. There's a lot of different things that go into when you sub somebody other than some guy just needs a rest, or you're upset with somebody because he blew a play, took a bad shot, et cetera, isn't playing as hard as you think they should play. But, that's something I think we've done a pretty good job of, trying to get guys minutes or trying to get guys rest early in the first half so that in the second half they can play a little bit more extended time, play through timeouts, especially the media timeouts, and you can have your best players on the floor all at the same time at the end of the game. Because you've heard me say this before, the first 8 possessions of the game count just as much as the last 8. The problem with the last 8 possessions, Kevin, is that you run out of time. Where in the first half, you have time to make up for a bad possession. A missed shot, a missed defensive assignment, a missed rebound, But when you get to those last 8 possessions, you run out of time to make up for that possession. That's why you have to have your best guys, your most efficient guys on the floor at the end of the game. And the best way to ensure that is to make sure they get rest in the first half. Now, how much rest each player needs is dependent upon that player and what they can, play through in terms of conditioning.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more.
Hey, Murph, I just got one really quick one. Why is that Friday game at 4?
Because we're playing at Texas State. No, I mean, there's nothing in the handbook that says you have to play at a certain time other than on Saturday. The game cannot start after 4 p.m. So most everybody's playing at 6 on Friday, 4 on Saturday, but Texas State has decided to go at 4 and 4. And some other leagues around the country, if you look at it, are playing at noon and 2 o'clock on Friday, because it really isn't affecting your crowd because of the number of fans you can allow in, if you can allow fans at all. So it's 4 and 4. It is what it is, and we'll show up when they need us to show up.
How important is your 3-point shooting defense against them, since they had that hot shooting performance against ULM?
Yeah, well, I think anytime you don't defend the 3-point line, it's a problem. I got a public school education, but 3 is more than 2, correct? And anytime a team can shoot efficiently from the 3-point line, it's going to put pressure on your team to counterbalance that. And that can be very difficult if a team gets hot. And that's what we did on Saturday. That's why we were able to jump out to 2 big leads in the first and second half, was because of the 3-point line. Now, having said that about Texas State, this is a very experienced team. They play hard, and they've got a lot of interchangeable parts. And let's not forget, Duguay did not play the first time we played Texas State. And I think that affected us. And I think we'll be better off with him in the lineup because of his defensive presence and his ability to rebound the basketball. But, you've got to defend a 3-point shot.
Coach, besides talk about the difference. Like, y'all have had to deal with, you talk about a scout, but the kid who hit all the shots for them in the second night, I'm doubt he was a huge part of the scout. So talk about the difference between a Friday to a Saturday, and now just 3 or 4 weeks later, you're playing the same team again. How much more does that complicate things, matchup?
Yeah, Kevin, I don't know if it's complicated, because with the way the schedule is this year, there's really not a whole lot of a time to change things. And I think it's that way every year, because once you get into January, you are who you are. Now, if you take a particular player out of the lineup, that can have an impact on how you prepare, especially if they're a 3-point shooter, because that extends and stresses your defense. But at this time of the year, there's, you are who you are, and you is who you is. And, the guys that can make shots got to make shots. The guys that rebound got to rebound, and you've got to play consistent on both ends of the floor. So I don't think there's a lot of challenges at this time of year, other than if you have illness or injury. And that's why it's incumbent upon us as a staff to make sure that we continue with the process of preparing the team the way Coach Marlin has prepared the team to an 11-4 record at this point.
Okay.
If I could ask one more thing real quick. This year, do y'all get any leeway, Coach Marlin not being available? For example, this year, do you get to step in, or somebody in your role gets to step in and do some on-court stuff? Is there any kind of COVID exception this year?
Yeah, I think anytime a quote-unquote full-time staff member is not able to perform their duties, you can have somebody or a group of some people fill in for those particular responsibilities, depending on what they are. So you do have some wiggle room there to make sure you have your best opportunity to prepare your team.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, Coach, one more thing. From the first weekend, what y'all mentioned, and Bob has mentioned experience, but besides their experience, what was the thing that was the tough, that gave y'all the most trouble that y'all have to address in this matchup?
Well, look at the second game. They were 17 for 20 from the field. And, that's a combination of us, but it's a lot of them too. And you guys tip your hat and say, job well done. So we cannot have the same type of second half we had in the second game up in, or I should say over in San Marcos. Like I said, they're a very experienced team. They can score from all 3 levels on the court. They play hard. They play well together as a group, and they're a very efficient team. So they're playing their best basketball right now. I think we're turning the corner and getting to that point. You don't want to peak too early, but I've never been a big believer in peaking too late. So it's you got to play your best basketball now. It's in the middle of the conference season. We have 4 games, 4 out of 5 in total on the road. So this is going to be a challenge, and it starts with Friday. And all your focus has to be on Friday.